Hello and welcome to the first Photoshop lesson. In this tutorial we will be looking at Photoshop and the basic steps that you need to take to start a new project, and also we'll be looking at layers and things like color modes. We'll also be looking at resolutions and the tools in Photoshop, and also work with shapes and selections. These are things that we have already done in class, and I believe you're already familiar with some of the tools and how to start a new project. So basically I've already have Photoshop opened right now. So remember, we're using Photoshop. The version that I'm using right now is Photoshop CC 2015. So first thing that you need to do before you even start designing, you should understand exactly what color mode you should choose depending on the project. If the project is going to be printed, remember, as I said, you have to use CMYK, and if the project is going to be displayed, you should use RGB color mode. So if you want to start a new project, all you have to do is to go to file and then you go to new, and then here, as you can see, you have the document type. So you have different presets here. Remember, as I said, you have different presets. So Photoshop is not just for people that do graphic design, but even those that do web design, mobile application design, and also the film industry or videographers, they also use it. So basically you have different presets, and then for example, if you choose international paper, you're going to see different sizes presets, things like A4, A5, A6, A3, etc. So basically if you choose A4 here, you will see that it will show you in millimeters, but you can always change it. So normally people work, if you're working with Photoshop, try to work with pixels, that's fine. Even if you measure something in centimeters or millimeters, but when you come to Photoshop, you can easily just switch, because the moment you click pixels here, it will give you it will convert it into the pixel size. So here, when it comes to the resolution, so as you can see, because it's A4, so by default it gives you 300. So maybe because this is the last one that I use, that's why it is appearing, but always remember, you can use 300 for something that is going to be printed, and then if it is something that is going to be displayed, you can basically use things like 72. And this is where you can change the color mode. You have the RGB here, you have others obviously, but the basic ones are here: RGB for display, and then CMYK for printing. So the CMYK stands for cyan, magenta, yellow, and the K actually stands for black. And then you have the RGB is red, green, and blue. So let's say, for example, I just want to create a custom one. So remember, when you want to create a custom, let's say I want to create something like 1000, the width 1000, and then the height 3000. So you choose the custom, and then you see I am in pixels. Always make sure you are in pixels. It's no big deal, but just try to work with pixels in Photoshop. So the resolution, I'm going to make it 72, because maybe I am creating a web banner, so I'm going to make the resolution 72. And then so when you are setting this, so what you are saying here is I want each inch on the image to have 72 pixels, right? Every inch. That's why you are seeing here pixels per inch. So the more resolution, the more pixels you have on each inch, the better the quality. So this part is very important. And then remember, like I said, so this is going to be printed. So if this is going to be printed, I'm going to use CMYK. If it is going to be displayed on a monitor or is going to a website, then I use RGB. So from there I can just click OK. But if I want to save this as a preset so that I can use it again, I'm just going to come here and say save preset, and then name it. Let's say I call this banner, and then click OK. So now I have saved a custom preset. So whenever I come to the document type here, you see all the custom presets will appear at this section. You have the presets that come with Photoshop, and then you also have your own custom preset. So anytime you come and then you want to use these presets, you can simply click on it and it will appear. So when I click OK, it will actually give me the dimension that I have choose, right? So as you can see, I have the exact dimension of 1000 by 1000 by 300, 1000 by 3000, 1000 by 3000 pixels, right? The resolution, the width and the height. So remember, if for example I want to have a A4, that one I can simply just come to International Paper. A4 is already there, then I click OK. So I have an A4. Now if you look at on the left hand side here, you will see the available tools on Photoshop. So basically each tool has a role to play. So when you place your mouse pointer on a tool, you should see the name of the tool and the keyboard shortcut, and then you will also see a small triangle that appears beneath here on the right. So when you press and hold on that button, you will see the other options that are there, or if you want, you can also right click on the button to see more. So as you can see, all these buttons, they have, or all these tools, they have other tools within them. So for example, if I right click on this one, I will see all the other tools within it. Now Photoshop has different workspaces. So if you go to Windows here, you'll see workspace, and then here you can choose depending on what you are actually doing on Photoshop. So as you can see, the default is Essentials, but you can also choose Motion. You can choose Motion. Motion is for those who want to edit basic videos inside or want to do basic video editing inside Photoshop. You can choose Motion. So look at here, when I click on Motion, then I will have a timeline at the bottom here where I can create a video timeline and then start adding my audio, video, and then some graphics. So basically you can also use Photoshop to edit videos, but just simple videos. So it's no replacement for a professional video editing program, but actually you can edit small or simple videos there. So if I go back to workspaces, let's say I am going to use Photoshop for painting. The moment I choose painting, as you can see on the right pane here, you will see that you have some brushes that appears. So it will basically customize your screen or the interface based on what you want to work on. So if you are retouching images, let's say you have photos that you want to retouch, when you choose photography, it will also show you tools that you can use to retouch your images. And then you have typography for text. So as you can see, so there are different workspaces that you can choose. The tools also, these options also can be available here. And then if you, for example, you mess things up, you can always come to Essential, the default, or you say reset. So when you reset, everything comes back to normal. Let's say you are on Essentials. Now most of the time, you know, these tools also, you can move them around. You see, I can just click this and then move things around, place them the way I want. But there might be some time that you mess the screen up, so you can always reset. So what you can do when you come to workspaces, you can also click reset Essentials, then everything will go back to normal, or the option is also available here. So as you can see, in Photoshop you have what they call tabs. Just like in a browser, you have different tabs. So I can click and drag on a tab to float it. So this will help you to be able to work with multiple projects. So let's say, for example, I open or I create another project here. Let me just say new, and then this time maybe I want to web, and then I want to create a desktop page design. Then I click OK. So as you can see, that means right now I am having two projects open, I'm working on two projects at the same time. Right, I'm working on two projects at the same time. So I can click and drag, or I can switch between these two projects, or I can even change the way they are arranged. Let's say, for example, this is title 2 on title 2, and then you have on title 1. So I can click and drag this and then to switch their positions. You see, I can bring title 1 here by clicking and drag it, just like how you would do on a web browser. So anytime you insert an image will be represented with a layer. So that's the layer that is representing this background here. So basically you also have some tools here. Now this key here is called the lock or lock all. So you can lock this layer so that you will not be able to move it. So when you unlock the layer, then the layer will be movable by. So basically also here you always need to make sure you checked auto select layer and then show transform controls. So right now we have layer 0 because the most important thing in Photoshop is understanding layers. So what we're going to do right now is, let's start with the basic shape where we insert a shape. So what I'm going to do first is insert a shape. So I'm going to create a triangle. So remember, you can just click and drag freely if you wish, but if you want to have an exact proportion, right, if you want to have a perfect square, you see right now I'm holding down my shift key and then dragging so that I can have a perfect square. So make sure you release the mouse first before releasing the shift key. So as you can see, you have a rectangle. If you look at here, the background here, the white background, is represented by this one called layer 0, and then you have the rectangle which is represented by this one. So I can even change the names of these layers just to make things a little bit arranged. So I can double click on that and call this background. I can leave this one to rectangle 1, no problem. So basically I can also change the color of the rectangle. Now look at here, if I am moving things around, let's say I want this to be exactly in the middle. So right now it is in the middle vertically, so I need to also make it in the middle horizontal. So you see, the moment you're moving around, these guides will help you so that you can exactly check. So right now if you look at here, the square or the rectangle is exactly in the middle. So I can also change the color. So when I want to change the color, I have to make sure the layer is selected. Remember, because this is auto select is selected, so whenever you click on an object it will be selected. If not, you have to come here and click on it first before the object will be selected. But auto select helps you so that when you click, you will be able to make selection. And also show transform, that is why you are seeing these boxes that are appearing here. So because if I turn it off, I'm not going to see them. I'll be able to move things around, but I will not be able to see the auto transforms. So the auto transforms will also help you to rotate, because if you place your cursor here, then you can click. For example, I can easily rotate like that. I can easily rotate, right? So the rotation is happening in the middle, because if you look at here, there is something here that is appearing. So let's say I push this and put it at the corner here, and then I start rotating. Now it will rotate at that point. It's just like when you pin something, right? So that thing controls the rotation, how you want to rotate. So if I also place it, so if I place it in the middle, when I rotate, everything is rotating from the middle. So let's take note of that. Now if I make any transformation and then I want to apply it, or I want to commit it, what I do is to click on this button. It's called commit, or if you want, you can press the enter key on your keyboard. But if at all you also don't want to commit those changes, you have the option here, cancel. Okay, so we want to change the color of this. So you first need to select on the tool rectangle, right? So let's make sure the shape is selected. Come to the rectangle here, and then as you can see, any tool that you click here, the properties of those tools will appear. So when I click on the rectangle tool, also the properties of the rectangle tool will appear. So I can click on fill, and then I can change the color that I want. So let's say yes, that color is fine. And then from there, remember, if you want to go to the move tool, instead of clicking here, you can press V. So when I click on V, now I will be able to, you know, move the object around. So I can scale this rectangle. Remember, press the shift key. I can scale it, I can make it bigger, or I can make it smaller. And then also, if you want to duplicate this, let's say I want to duplicate it, I can right click and then click on duplicate. Or if I want, I can just use the keyboard shortcut, which is quicker, Control J. So as you can see, you have two of them. So I can change their name. This one is rectangle 1, that's okay. So maybe I'll just come and change this as rectangle 2. Rectangle 2. So now I have two rectangles, so I am going to, they are on top of each other, so I'm going to change the color of this other one to something else. So now I have two rectangles. So because the one that is red, that is rectangle 2, is on top of the other one, so that's why. So if I want to change their position, I want the red one to come down, then what I need to do is I will click and drag and bring that one down. So you can easily rearrange your layers in Photoshop and arrange them the way you wish, right? So if you want to add text, it's simple. You just come here and click on text and then click inside. So when you click a new layer, a new text layer will appear. So you have the controls here, the size, you can increase or decrease the size. You have regular, bold, just like you do in Microsoft Word. And then let's say, for example, I want to type rectangle. So I can highlight it just like how you would highlight in Microsoft Word. Increase the size. If any size that you want doesn't appear here, you can always type it on top here. So I can apply that. If I want, I can change the font face to something else, right? Then I can commit to it and then press the V to move this thing around, right? So that's text. So if you also want, you can change the color of the text. So remember, T is for text. You can press T to activate text. You can highlight, click here to change the color. So you can just change the color of the text to whatever you want, right? Then you click OK, then you commit it, or you press enter if you want, and then you press V. So that is how you can easily. So as you can see right now, we have 4 layers. One is the background layer, and then these 2 are the rectangle layers, they are shapes, and then you have a text layer. Now I'm going to show you how to create groups. Now let's say, for example, just like how you arrange your files on your computer on different folders, you can also create groups for different objects, because there might be in certain projects that where you have different layers, but you may want to arrange them accordingly. So let's say, for example, I click on group here. So when I click group, as you can see, you have group 1. So I'm going to name this as text. So this is going to be the group where I will save all the text that I'm going to use in this project. So I can click and drag inside that text layer. Now it is there, because if you look at here now, it is not in the same line because it is indented. So that is showing you that now this text layer here is within this. So if I click on this arrow now, you will see that it will be hidden. So it saves some space on your layers panel. So I can also create another group and call it shapes. Create it shapes. And then in this group, I am going to press Control and then click and drag and put those ones inside the shapes tool. So right now, as you can see, the shapes are inside this folder, and then the background layer, I can just leave that one outside here. So basically, this is another way of a simple way of arranging your files inside a Photoshop layer so that you can work easily. Remember, if you want to delete, when, let's say, for example, I want to delete this folder, when I right click and then say delete, so you have the option delete group. So when you click on delete group, it will give you 2 options, whether you want to only delete the group and leave in the content. So it depends, group and contents. So this will delete the layer that is inside the group and also the group layer and also the group. So you have the choice to choose. So let's say I just say group only, and then you see the group is deleted but the content is still inside. All right. Yeah, so next what I'm going to show you, so remember, if you are also saving your project, let's say, for example, I want to save this project so that I can work on it again. So what I can do is to go to file and then click save as. So the Photoshop format is PSD, so you leave it to Photoshop here so that you'll be able to edit it again. So let's say I name this project as shapes, and then I save it on my desktop. So basically now I have saved that project as PSD. so that means Photoshop document. So anytime I come back, I can open that PSD inside the Photoshop and continue editing. But if I am done with the design and then I want to export it to a JPEG or PNG, then what you need to do is to go to File, Save As, and then you have JPEG. You can choose the first one here, JPEG, and then you click Save. You leave the settings like that, and then you click OK. So now you have another copy of this project as JPEG. So let's say, for example, the other one is PNG. PNG is actually the only format that accepts transparency. Now let's say, for example, I don't want this white background to appear. I want these objects to be so that they can have a transparent background and adopt any background that it is placed on. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn off the background layer, so whenever you see these boxes here, that means the background is transparent. So let's say, for example, I don't want the background to appear. So now when I go to File, Save As, I can actually choose PNG. PNG, remember, stands for Portable Network Graphics. So I can click Save, and then I can click OK. So when I come to my desktop, as you can see, look at here. If you look at here, you will see that you have the two files, but this one, as you can see, is transparent. This is the JPEG file, and then this is the transparent, the PNG file, and it's transparent. And then this is the Photoshop project, so I can always open this and continue editing. But this one's, when you save it as JPEG or PNG, it merges all the layers and create one object. So that's enough for this first lesson. So in the next lesson, we're going to show you how to actually remove or do selections in Photoshop. Thank you.